Hi, welcome to another typology interview. We have Elizabeth. How's it going, Elizabeth?
It's going well.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a connection issue, but we should be able to make do, I guess. Yeah, I
Yeah, we
noticed
can
right
always
away.
start it over too if we
Yeah,
needed to after I get it all fixed up.
yeah. I noticed also that right away before this that you're not an IJ because you're not freaking out too much over the lack of the lack of that it's working. I guess I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, technology
yeah,
failing, power outages. Yeah,
right.
yeah, not stuff I
Um,
freak out about.
so when did you get started in typology?
I've always had a general interest in just people and personalities in general. Like when I was younger, like 18 or 19, I was pretty obsessed with astrology,
Yeah.
which is a little embarrassing to admit now because I don't really believe in any of that anymore. But um, actual typology, I think it was around 2014. I believe the first one I got into was like Kersey's temperaments.
Right.
And then in 2016 was one of my psychology classes. I had learned about Carl Jung's theory. And I just remember just totally falling in love with just the whole concept of it and really studying the hell out of it. And then learning about MBTI and just becoming like obsessive about it. And so, yeah, so I would, since 2016 with MBTI specifically, but typology in general, 2014, so a few years.
Right. And
Yeah.
then you got into OP at some point?
Yeah, OP happened 2018. So summer of 2018 is when
Right.
I
Yeah.
had first started watching Dave's stuff. And right around that same time frame is actually when I got MBTI certified. So I'm a certified practitioner
Oh, with
through
the
them.
MBTI corporation sort of thing.
Yeah, with CPP. Yeah.
Right.
So I got certified with them, and I remember leaving that class just, yeah, I wasn't happy leaving there. Seeing how how their whole process was, how much misinformation is out there that could be cleared up if they actually put more information out there. They
Yeah.
put like the bare minimum, which is why there's so much confusion. Not to say that their information just clears it all right up. It doesn't, but it does clear it up a hell of a lot more than how it is now. And so I remember after the class, I'm just feeling really, I don't know. I just felt disenchanted, I guess, by the whole thing. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, no wonder I'm so confused. And I thought I'd leave there with the answers, right? Like I can help people clear up which type they are. And it's like, no, you leave there and you let people select their best fit type. And I'm like, wait, so other people, I came here to get certified to type people. And I'm left with, you don't type them, they type themselves. Like,
Yeah.
okay. Uh, not sure how that helps anybody, but
Was it like
so
most of the course how to administer a proper exam sort of thing?
how to go about it. It was a lot of like the terms you're supposed to use, and it did walk you through how to describe to people. They use a metaphor like right-handedness, left-handedness, like because we can all do everything. And that's
Yeah.
really kind of the biggest confusion is people will be like, well, I don't know which one I really am. Well, you really are all of them,
Hmm.
right? But it's like, which one do you spin? Where do you start? Where do you start at? Which are you starting on the intuitive side or are you starting on the sensing side? Because we can all get to the other side of it, and you usually will, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
which one is hard to use for you? Which one's easier? Writing with your right hand, if you're right-handed, you're going to be able to your name very legibly, right? And then try to do it with your left hand. You're slower, it's less legible, it's not nice looking. So I like how they went about identifying all that. But if people are still really confused by the end of all of it, you're not supposed to help guide them. You're
Really?
supposed to like give them information and like back away because they don't want
Mhm.
anybody to be upset, pretty much. So I started watching Dave stuff more, and a lot of the information that's kind of like lacking out there, I mean, he was as objective as you should be. So that's when I was like, kind of moving away from MBTI and more OP. And I signed up for the classes in December. And I met them. I actually went to the Seattle meetup. So I met them in January. That was really nice. Until they threw some information out there while I was at the meetup. You know, I had believed I was a certain type. And then they were like, we definitely see, I believed I was an ENTP.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I mean, after years of trying to identify my type, that was finally the type I had settled on. And I had been settled on it for, I mean, I guess about a year at that point. Like, and I really did kind of, look around, feel it out, see which one. Because I never typed as ENTP though. Not once when I took any of the assessments. I always typed as INTP every time.
Right.
So, I mean, a few other times I typed as something else, but it would be like a one-off day where I was, you know, but yeah, no, it's funny because not in all of that did I ever type the type that I actually am. So it's like, well, there you go. Yeah, it is. So they threw out something while I was at the meetup that kind of was like, wow, okay, I didn't see that and I didn't anticipate it, but it gave me a bit of time to kind of digest what they said. So when they actually gave me my type, everybody was like, how are you taking it? And I'm like, I'm taking it okay, because they already hit me with that shit back in January. So I had already dealt with the math, I guess, freak out about it.
Right. What the type they gave you at the meetup and the type they gave you after you got officially typed, was there a difference?
Yeah.
Oh,
no. Well, they didn't give me like a full type at the meetup. They just said that they saw masculine 5. Right. And so
okay.
They saw masculine FI like big time. Like both of them said it at different points, like not even around each other. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are the chances of that? Them both seeing the same thing and commenting on it. And I went there not thinking in any way did I have masculine 5.
Right.
Like,
I was actually thinking you had masculine extroverted decider until you said that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Interesting.
Nope. Yeah. So they hit me with that. I was like, whoa, because I was ENTP. I was like thinking I definitely had Faye. I didn't think I was good at it, but that's what I thought I had. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But after I processed it made a lot more sense. So I still couldn't really settle on, even after they gave me that information and I processed it, I didn't think masculine phi was my savior. I wasn't convinced of that at all. And they didn't say that or suggest it, but they just threw it out there. But when I submitted what I believed my type was, when I submitted my typing videos, I didn't put down that I thought masculine was my savior at all. So, because I didn't think it was.
Okay.
I'm still not entirely convinced that it's my savior. Feels like a demon.
So your savior, you think would be more on the TE side, or do you think you have TI still, or?
I was really thoroughly convinced that I had TI because I do internally, externally, I do logic a lot, but I also am realizing that I'm super not aware of my phi. Like, it's there. I can see it now that I'm like really trying to process all of it. And like, I'm looking for sensory examples of, I can see it. It's everywhere, man. Like, I don't know how I didn't see it before. It's masculine. I don't talk about feelings. Like I don't, like I just a few years ago, I would say feelings have been like my biggest life struggle. So, I had like a quarter life crisis. I won't say midlife because I'm just not old enough for that, but I had a quarter life crisis. I remember, started when I was like 25, 26, and it all centered around feelings. Just my repressing them, my believing that I didn't have them, not dealing with them, and then them kind of like erupting like a volcano, like yearly.
Yeah,
So
that sounds like a demon
um,
feeling.
it sounds like demon, yeah. And so I processed, and I shared all that in my typing video. I didn't hide it back or hold it back or, any of that. I shared this long struggle that I've had. I'm also on the other end of it now. Like I can see, and they basically described to me that, that's how masculine feelings are. Like they're difficult. You don't want your feelings moved. You don't really want to have them. You don't want to deal with them.
Mm.
You don't want other people knowing about them. So, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it did feel like a demon. In some ways, it still does.
Yeah.
But that's just how masculine Phi operates, I suppose.
So I have feminine FE, and I feel the same way about feelings, like exactly the same way.
Feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could see, I feel like I'm in a way healthier stance now than I've ever been before with feelings. Like, it's
Right.
just way healthier. Like, I realized that the biggest part of the equation and why it felt like demonish was because I felt like feelings made me weak. They
Yeah.
made me feel weak. So I would just, they weren't there. I don't have feelings, so they just need to go away, kind of thing. And so once I got past this belief that they made me weak, right? And I actually accepted that they were not working against me, that they were working for me and they didn't make me weak. And expressing them actually takes, it's very Brene Brownish how I've embraced them, but it's like, no, it actually takes a hell of a lot of courage to talk
Mhm.
about your feelings, talk about things that have affected you, talk about like
Right.
hard things in your life, to own that and to talk about it is brave. So once I work past all of that, it's like, yeah, okay, so it doesn't feel as demonish anymore, but it's still, I have double activated Tay. So I call it Tay.
Okay.
Y'all call it T, sorry.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
my
I
I have
got
my
that.
own
Yeah.
words for stuff.
Um,
So it still feels like it's this center point for like frustration in my life is between masculine phi and double activated TE.
mhm.
So yeah.
um, do you also see your principles and your values? Are you aware of your principles and values as well at all time?
They're definitely there. They're definitely there. I'm like forcing myself to become more aware of them. Um, yeah, that's just me trying to process and like actually put words to it, but they're definitely there. Like I definitely know when somebody's crossed a value of mine or a principle of mine. Like
Right.
the clear situations would be like if somebody is being a bully, I don't deal with that shit for a minute. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't care who it is. I don't care if it's somebody else's kid. I don't care if it's a grown ass adult. I don't care if it's in a work setting or in a casual setting. Like, if somebody is being, I don't know, just being dominant and critical or just mean for absolutely no reason or just mean in general, and I feel that it's uncalled for, um, yeah, my masculine phi comes out. So yeah, I don't deal with it. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I definitely am aware of those instances, you know?
Um, yeah. Um, what about the spectrum of thoughts? Like, do you see that the thoughts are on a spectrum? Do you see that there's a lot of different things that could work in a given situation? Do you see that there's a lot of different opinions on what's true? Or do you see that like really there's one truth?
Oh, no, there's definitely not one truth. There's like bajillion truths. Everybody
Right.
has their own version. And I don't believe one's more true than, I
Uh-huh.
mean, maybe, yeah, maybe one's more true, but there's definitely not one truth. Like I look at the spectrum of just typology, right? And
Right.
that there's Carl Jung, there's MBTI, there's OP, there's socionics, there's cognitive eight, I can go through all of those and become aware of the different areas and which areas feel more true. But I mean, I don't look at any of them and think this one's definitely more true than the other. Like they all have something to offer. And they all have their own perception of, their own take on personality
Right.
typology. And I don't know, like I can just take the
Do,
little
do, you,
nugget
do
of
you
truth
find
and
that
make one.
something has to work for it to be true? Or or is
Yeah,
there,
it does. You do need to be able to see that, yeah, that it can actually be applied in reality. Like in my mind, yeah.
it's more SE. Um,
I'm like, I don't have SC.
you don't have SE. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Huh. Yeah.
I love that you don't know. I think that that's great.
That
I'm
what?
like, I'm sure you pieced it together by now. I said, I love that you don't know my type. I think that that's great. Are you
Yeah.
still over there piecing it together?
No. I'm trying to decipher because you described really what sounds like a demon feeling in some way, but like the way you described your feeling, it does seem like it's FI, and it does seem like you have TE based on how you described your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I can't say 100%, but this is what it seems like.
But I'm also surrounded by TE, right? So that was another interesting thing. Do you remember your interview with God? I'm gonna botch his name, but Nario
Dario Nardi,
Dart.
yeah.
How do you say his? There we go, that guy.
Yeah.
Where he talked about he ran across this ESFP that seemed to have activated NT, right? And it was just like, that doesn't really make sense. But then the mother was like ESFP. And then that person ended up being classified as ENTP. And it's just like, well, he doesn't really know like what accounts for what in that. Like, was she really going to be an ENTP? But there's so much ENTP influences over the span of her life that she even fell into career as her mother, right? So they both ended up being psychologists. And I'm like, that's really interesting to me because I'm
Mhm.
surrounded by dominant Tay users and I have double activated Tay. So it's like, I don't necessarily believe that's a coincidence, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't. Like, I think that that grew in me because I'm surrounded by dominant Tay users.
So
So,
you were forced to use your demons, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it still is a demon. So, I mean, but it doesn't feel,
Right.
I don't know, it doesn't feel like demon territory to me. It feels
Yeah.
pretty
Um,
natural.
the other thing I'm wondering, do you see yourself as like having tribe issues
Uh,
or more observer issues?
I mean, like, really, yeah. I mean, occasionally tribe issues, but they're not the tribe issues. When I really look at them a little bit closer, they're really end up being more about something observery, but
Mm-hmm.
but people are involved, and it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Whenever I've
Yeah.
come across,
Right.
so
And I'm getting your NE because you like when you're explaining stuff, you are kind of all over the place. Like you are for me, like for an NI user,
yeah,
for an NE user, you're not all over the place. It just makes sense. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. So yeah, with that, it's more observer for sure. Sometimes try, but mostly not.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm very balanced between
Right.
thinking and
And then
feeling.
the other
Going
thing
back.
was I asked you earlier a question like before we started the
Mhm.
interview, and you wanted more sensory on the question. You're like, oh, okay, I'll just intuit what you meant,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah. So like for me, someone with intuition would have just intuited what I meant anyways, and not waited, like not
I like
asked
to
for
be
permission.
accurate. I
Huh?
like to be I like to be accurate. I have this
Right.
thing about accuracy.
Uh-huh.
So and I don't think for me anyways, that was something that came over time. I didn't give a shit about that stuff when I was younger. Like that came in my professional career, right? Once I realized, oh, like society values accuracy and I wanted to be a reliable source of
Hmm.
accurate information, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's
and you
cool that
can't
you're
be
careful
accurate if
with
you're intuitively making leaps all over the place without checking them.
it. Hmm.
So, that is something I think that's kind of different about me than maybe most other people that have dominant NE is
Right.
that I do value accuracy. So, and I don't really view like they're supposed to be polar opposites, NESI,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for me, they very much so operate together,
yeah.
back and forth.
I'm just
And
going to pause the
so,
video for 1 second and I'll be right
okay,
back. Yep.
okay.
Yeah. So I guess that would make you the like lead NE as your main function.
Yes, that would
Right.
be my dominant. And it's funny,
And
actually,
feminine?
like, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Um, I would say throughout all of the typology stuff that when I started learning about any, I knew I had it. Like I absolutely knew I had it, and
Right.
I felt
Hence the
fairly confident that
ENTP.
it was my dominant function.
Hence the
Like,
ENTP guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it made sense finally. And I just told my head is like, I don't know, introvert thinking. I don't really, but yeah, it all makes sense. I mean, double activated T, and then I mean that ended up being my final guess. I said them. Well, I had two final guesses, and like
Right.
the first one was NETE, right? And then
Right.
the other one that I submitted, it was like my very last one that I told them was like TINE.
Uh-huh.
So, because I could see the self above tribe. That was the
Right.
thing that was really getting me, was like, okay, I can see the thinking. I can definitely see the, the NE.
Right.
And I could see the self above tribe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Which ends up being the problem, right? Is
But
the
like, so you have a single activated FI, but it is masculine, so that would make it a little bit heavier. But then
yeah.
the double activated TE, which would make it even heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you should be like theoretically pretty balanced on both. Like you shouldn't really see your TE as a demon, I think.
I kind of don't, unless I'm left to like plan something. That's when it feels demonish.
But like that's more your SI, I guess.
Well, but yeah, true. I mean, it is, but also it's the having to go back and forth with the tribe. That's really my issue. Like, I don't want to have to go back and forth. I don't want to have to communicate with everybody. I don't want to have to update everybody. I don't want to be responsible for making everybody happy and meeting all of their needs. That shit drives me nuts. I don't want to do it. I'm one of those people that's like, here's the plan, here's the place, here's the time, just show up. If you don't want to come, come. And yeah, so the whole like having to negotiate with everybody and make everybody happy, unsubscribe me. Like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
So that's where it's like, all right, I can kind of see it. It's not a savior then,
Right. That's also self above tribe.
It's very self above tribe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I did know. I mean, sometimes I could see where it kind of like at work, it does kind of operate the opposite. Right. But I also know, if you're not submitting to the tribe at work, you're probably going to struggle to keep a job. So, I mean, it operates differently at work, but I also think that that's just because that's how that operates. Right.
Yeah. Also, it's your job and you do.
It's your job. Yeah. You get paid to do it. So yeah, you better make sure the tribe's happy. Right.
Right.
So they'll kill you off.
Right. So, okay. So then you're an ENFP.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely don't have blast last.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
But you were typed as blast last, I guess.
No.
Okay, so sleep last. All right.
Yeah, sleep last supposedly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And do you feel like that's true? Like you're sleep low, at least?
I mean, it lines up. It does line up, and I've made a conscious effort, especially in like the last week, of journaling, forcing myself to do like sleep energy, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Yeah, sure. I don't make time for that. Like I don't, but I also spend a lot of time by myself, and I don't know how. I really don't know where it falls. I think that that's something that as I collect data over time, I'll know what the actual patterns are. But yeah, I'm not 100% convinced, but I think that they're both kind of I know blasphemy is hard. Like, not in this context necessarily,
Right.
but, and that's because actually I've consumed enough and forced myself to do sleep enough to kind of be prepared, feel prepared. But I
Right.
do know one of my bigger struggles is feeling prepared and never feeling quite prepared enough.
Do you see
So
yourself as lead consume?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's accurate. Yeah, I love learning.
When you spend
I
your
love
time by
learning.
yourself, is that what you're doing? Are you
Yeah,
consuming
yeah.
ideas? Yeah.
Consuming ideas, just taking in data, playing with data in my brain, seeing what fits. Even when I'm around people, I'm not always necessarily interacting with them. I mean, I am, but I have like this inner Rubik's cube of, I guess, typology data where I'm constantly just puzzling people and trying to figure out what their type is. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, I would say I'm lean consume. Yeah, for sure. Like I'm
And then,
always
and then,
consuming or
so
playing with
then
it.
the high play, you see, you're also taking in a lot of information as well from the tribe or from your like testing. I don't know, testing ideas off the tribe.
Yeah, I do collect data from the tribe. I do, because I mean, like, that's the
Yeah.
only way to really get it. You can't pull, I mean, I guess you could try to generate your own ideas, but then it wouldn't necessarily be like the spectrum of reality. So you have to
Right.
like ping ideas off the tribe and you have to get some feedback from them. You know,
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, I'll kind of throw out theories,
Right.
working theories that I have on people, their behavior, and kind of trying to gain an understanding of it. And I'll throw information out after I've kind of, finessed it and know most of it's accurate and feel them out on what they think. And if they see anything in themselves that supports, that theory.
And do you
Yeah,
see it like
because
that you have a good understanding of the spectrum of concepts, spectrum of ideas of anything you're working on, anything you're consuming?
I'm like, you need to be a bit more specific. That's a very big,
Right.
like, any is,
Yeah.
is that what you mean?
Yeah. Do you feel like any is like an understanding of the spectrum of ideas, like understanding all of the different ideas all at once sort of thing and just selecting the best one?
Yeah, I think it does, but I think honestly, out of all of the cognitive functions, not to like mystify it or anything, I think NE is probably the hardest one to describe.
Right.
Um, because it's because it can it can look so many different ways. I wouldn't necessarily even say that it's like about seeing the concepts on a spectrum, although that's kind of true. I think it's about, no, maybe it is like that. I see it very much so as needing to understand things on a deeper level than just how they appear, right? And
Right.
then just
I
massive
think,
amount of connections, like a
right.
spider web of connections.
Uh-huh.
If there's any kind of similarity, I've been having a conversation with somebody, and if there's any kind of similarity between something that they're talking about and something that another one of my friends has either been through or done, or my brain just starts flooding with data as to like what is the other relevant data to what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I totally am like, I can see my SI and NE. They function together. Absolutely, they function together.
Mhm.
Because because that's SI is my data. Like that's
Right.
where I store, I can remember. I have like
It's
my memory
masculine.
is kind
So
of, yes, yeah,
yeah.
masculine side. My memory is kind of interesting though, because like my short-term memory is shit. Really, it's not good. But
Yeah.
my long-term memory is actually pretty damn good. So
And
I
detailed,
mean,
would you say it's detailed as well, your long-term memory?
uh, yeah, it just depends on what it is. Like I don't. This will sound shitty, but I mean, like I don't have control over what I remember. Like I
Right.
really don't. There's some things I can force to memory,
Yeah.
but I really don't have much control. Like in college, I could, like I know how to force things that I've learned into memory, but won't necessarily stick around for forever. But yeah, no, I have good long-term memory. I can pull it. I was describing this. I'm trying to remember her name, actually. I don't know why my mind is blanking on that right now. I had a conversation in the group not that long ago, like kind of explaining how I remember things. I can't remember her name. That's going to drive me nuts now too. She's in the group. Her and I were going back and forth. She's an INTP. You've interviewed her before.
I've interviewed 2 INTPs. There's Heather and there's Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
Me and Kimberly were talking about this not that long ago, and I kind of described like how I remember things, because I can't just like think of one thing and remember it. It's like I described it like, imagine a rope going across like a lake, and it's, you know, one end is tied to a tree, the other end's tied to a tree, and you can't see the rope, right? But it's there. So you go to the tree and you start grabbing the rope and you start pulling it up, right? And then like as you start pulling it, you're working, like you can see it gets lifted to the surface, and like you have access and you get all the way across to the other tree by, you know, pulling yourself through it. And that's what it's like for me. If I can't remember something, I think of all of the data that could trigger my memory. And
then
all
once
of a
you
sudden,
get once you latch on to one piece of that, then you get the whole thing. Right.
All I need is, and that was something I hadn't realized in myself until the typing, where they were like, you're very much so on like a timeline. And I'm like, well, I hadn't really thought of it like that, but yeah, that's how I'm able to remember. I just pull, well, what month was that? Oh, okay, well, what weekend did that fall on? And I just start pulling anything I can around it, because I know eventually if I keep pulling, it'll pop up. And so I'm not consciously always very aware of it. Like, I don't know that I know all this crap, but then I start pulling and it can populate and it's there, and it's usually pretty accurate.
So will that pop up when you're blasting as well? Like, is that something that happens when you're blasting?
No, I mean, no, I would slow down in talking as I'm trying to pull it. So I wouldn't say it happens when I don't know what that is. Maybe that would be
some kind of
sleep. I don't know. I would think it would be like NE and SI working together, because NE is looking for anything to pull, like this, that, that, and SI is down at the bottom like, I don't know, is this getting it? So
does it feel like an anchor for you, like the SI details? Does it feel like some kind of anchor for your NE to branch off of?
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah, because I mean, like, those are the facts, right? Like, those are, NE isn't very, NE's just kind of trying to make connections wherever it possibly can.
Right.
So I guess, it's
but
kind of everywhere.
But it needs to attach itself to some kind of factual information, at least?
Attach itself to, to facts, to things that have actually happened, to data, to real things.
Right.
So yes.
So then like one piece of data can generate a whole spectrum of concepts?
Yeah. Whatever's the most like it, relevant.
Right.
You know, similar.
Do you find that NE is overactive and you need to tone it down sometimes to get things done, to focus?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I go kind of in and out of phases where it's out of control. You know, and all I want to do is, that's where I would have to say I would agree with Phi being a savior, because there's times where I'm just like, fuck responsibilities, fuck everything. I'm just going to be on my phone and I'm researching this thing and I can't stop. And, you know, so there are definite times like that. And then, you know, the chores get neglected. You know, I'm basically hitting the snooze button on being an adult. So, but I mean, it bites me in the ass every time. So I've kind of learned through, I guess what, you know, Shannon Dave would call like pain, right? The pain of having to come back and like, oh shit, I got to get my life together again. Like, how many times are you going to do that before you're like, all right, it's not worth this amount of pain, you know? So yeah.
Are you aware of your likes and dislikes? Like,
I've heard you ask that in like several interviews, and like anybody that was like, Phi was like, well, yeah. And it's very much the same response for me. Like, who wouldn't be? Like, I didn't know people didn't know what they liked.
Right.
Like, although I say that, and it's like, my husband is like that. Like, he knows kind of what he likes, but sometimes he's like, what do you think? Or he'll let me pick it, you know? And I always just thought it was like, well, he thinks maybe I have better taste or something. Like, no, it's because he doesn't know what he likes.
A preference. He doesn't have a
He
preference.
doesn't know. Yeah, or he can't, I don't know. In my mind, it's like, it's something that's kind of neutral that'll like go with everything else. Or, you know, sometimes it isn't just a matter of like, what do you like? It's what do you like? And then what works with what you already have. Right. But yeah, no, I'm pretty, I know immediately if I like something or not. Like, I never feel confused about that. That's
really
not, yeah, I never feel confused about it. I never feel like I have to get a second opinion. Like, I think a sensory example of that. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. Does it feel like it's stubborn as well? Like, as soon as you know you like something, that's it. You like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everything else is shit. So I actually have a really great sensory example of this. It just happened recently, and this is very like me being aware of. I guess this would be me being aware of sleep. Actually, this is because it's very like fi and sci, which I like to call sci-fi because that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say sci-fi.
Yeah.
I had to buy a new vehicle a few months ago because mine caught on fire.
Oh wow.
That was the second vehicle that's caught on fire.
Were you like ignoring the sensory maintenance stuff?
Maybe.
Yeah. Like oil?
No, it was old. I've had it for 13 years, but the check engine light had been on for 3 years. So, you know, I don't know what that was about, but so we kind of caught on fire. Second vehicle that's done that. So it was time to go get a new vehicle. Well, we had been, my husband and I had been preparing that like any day that car was just going to take crap. And so I'd already been thinking about what would I get? And I've done some like rental vehicles at this point, just because I, you know, traveling for work and stuff. And so I remember I used to hate the Kia Soul just because it was that ugly bird shit color, that or nasty avocado, whatever that was. It was hideous. But I rented one once because that's what they put me in. And I noticed when I got in the vehicle, like I'm really short. I'm only 5 foot. And so when I got in, there wasn't like a transition. It was like for a small person like me. And I'm like, holy shit, that felt nice that I didn't have to like fall into the car or climb into it. It just was like my height. And screw everything else. I didn't care about the color of it anymore. I liked that. Like I liked how that felt. And so I remembered that. And I think that that's such a psi thing, like that you'll remember how things felt for your body or just the ease of it or something about it was comforting. And so I like that. Yeah. So I was hell-bent on whatever next vehicle I was going to get. I wanted that. I just wanted that same get in right at the right time.
So and not specifically like, that car, just that idea of something that's tailored to you.
The same height, same transition, just slide right in.
Right.
And so my husband was like, well, that means you're going to have to go and put your ass in every car. And it'd be like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? I'm going to have to go climb in every bed or every car, right? And see. And I had talked to a few people and kind of thrown out what I was looking for. I wanted something with 4-wheel drive. And I kind of mentally landed on the Subaru several times. And they had this really awesome blue color. I'm obsessed with blue. And so I already had it in my mind that the Outback was going to be the perfect height. I already knew it. I'd never driven one. I didn't need to know it's going to be the right height. I'd already been comparing them as I was driving down roads and stuff. And it looked like the right height, looked like everything. So it had 4-wheel drive and it had all kinds of safety features. So I tried to like not be hellbent on having that specific car. And we went test driving with several different vehicles. But in the back of my head, it was like, I already knew I was going to I'd end up at the Subaru dealership. Like, I already knew it. Like, I knew it would feel right. I knew it was the right height. I knew it was the right color. So, and of course, 2 days later, that's where we ended up. So, and I got a Subaru Outback. So I already knew from the beginning of all of that what I would end up with. And that's exactly what I ended up with.
Wow. So already I saw like the whole story is about things. Like not about people, about things, about your,
Oh yeah.
the complete observer story, a complete hero's journey that you went on to get the right thing, the right car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's accurate. That's funny.
And to
Yeah.
get the car that sensory, like the one for the
That
sensory
felt
fits you. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I remember too thinking it was kind of, I knew it felt odd. Like some people would be like, I like how that car looks. I've never given a shit about how cars look.
Right.
Like I can appreciate, like a Dodge Viper. I can appreciate that. That's a beautiful car.
Okay.
But I don't look at cars and think, ooh, I need to have that one. Or
Right.
like, no, like that's no. How does it feel?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Yeah. I've always been a little different.
No, well, yeah. How does it feel? Is it SI?
Yeah, it's SI. Yeah. So
Completely.
and then I guess too, like I don't feel like I'm very materialistic. I mean, I guess we can all kind of, but I don't feel like that's like super.
So that always puzzled me. Like how does an observer whose main issues are around things not be materialistic? Because like it's a real materialistic struggle that you go through in your life, sort of thing.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. Like, okay, so I'll say that my obsession with things isn't like, I'm not looking to have things to signal out a social status.
Right.
I'm not trying to communicate something to the tribe based on what I have. Whereas my single decider husband, if he has something,
it's for self-tribe reasons.
Yes, it's for tribe reasons. He wants people to know, like, I have these things because of my status, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Yeah. I could stand back from and be like, no, why? What do you need that for? Like, I'm constantly talking him out of, he'll say things like, I wish we had a bigger house. And I'm like, no. And then I'll list out like 20 different reasons why we don't want a bigger house and how it will limit us.
Cool.
Will limit our ability to do the things that we want to do. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Do you have anything that you want to promote at all?
Sort of. So I don't have my page done quite yet on Facebook, but I'm about to start up it's going to be under an alias Beth Bow to just start doing my MBTI stuff, right? I have to earn hours for my master practitioner.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do probably 2 to 4 of those, the step 2 assessments, which is really cool. They go into each facet and you can kind of see where you place on their scale of things, which is nice to, like, I've used mine to compare it against my results in OP and just everything else and just kind of see how everything lines up. And it's been interesting.
That's cool. Yeah.
I plan to do 2 to 4 of those absolutely for free. Like, I'm going to pay for the assessment.
Right.
And then do the interpretation, the feedback session for free as well. After that, I plan to do all of the interpretations for free until I get so many hours, but I'll have to charge for the assessment just because that's through CPP and they charge me every
They charge you, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So it sounds like you're giving like this really big discount and you're providing a service so that you can also learn and build your reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and I need practice and anybody else that would, feel of value, but I'll share that link. I'm hoping to have that all finalized at the end of this week. So
nice. Okay. Yeah. I'll put the link in the description. And if you're interested, check back at the end of the week and the link will be active. There'll be stuff there. Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Yeah. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We'll put the link in. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah.